Hi everyone, thanks for joining us this evening. So yeah, thanks for joining us everyone and taking some time out of your busy schedules. While we're waiting on people to join, if you would like to send in a bit about yourselves into the chat function at the bottom of the screen, you can include your names, where you're originally from and where you're currently based, and any other information you would like to include as well. And you could also maybe include where you heard about the MPower program, whether that was through an organization who you want to name or even from a friend. And we can all have a look at those answers in the chat. I will start a bit about myself. I'm originally from Ireland, but I currently live in London, and I'm the electoral organizer here at Migrant Democracy Project. I will also be throwing up some poll questions throughout this session and webinar, just so we can see the different political experiences that people have and who are joining. If anyone has any questions they would like, you can put them in the Q&A function as well in the bottom of the screen. The chat function says it is locked. No worries. I'll try to sort that for you now. That should be it now. If anyone can check if that works for them, let me know. There we go. I can see it now. So yeah, again, if you've just recently joined, we're just getting people to put into the chat a bit about themselves, including their names, where they're originally from, where they're currently based, and any other information that they would like. Maybe a bit about where they heard about the MPower program, whether this was an organization or through a friend. And I'm going to throw up a poll as well that people can get involved with as well. We will discuss the poll results at the end as well if we have a bit of time. It's nice to meet you, Rosalind and Esty. I'd just like to introduce you as well to Lara Parazotto. She's the Executive Director here at Migrant Democracy Project, and she'll be helping with the technical side of things this evening. As you can see, I'm not great on the technological front, so she'll definitely be helping me with that. She'll be sending in relevant links and responding to questions both in the Q&A function as well as speaking on Zoom as well. Over to you, Lara, if you want to speak a bit.
Hey everyone, my name is Lara. I'm the director here at MDP, and I'm just super excited to see so many of you here in the chat. Please do ask your questions, ask for links. I will provide it in the chat. It's just been really exciting to see the growth of some of the MPower candidates that we had last year, and just so excited to see so many people that are SVP'd to attend this session tonight, and that will be hopefully applying to our program and becoming future counselors as well. There's lots for us to accomplish together. Mihal will say more for sure, but the amount of work that he does to represent his community is really inspiring, and it's something for us to all learn from. So yeah, just super excited to see you guys continue this journey with us.
Thanks for that, Lara.
Can I just say something? It's incredible. I have to say sorry to butt in straight away. I was quiet for only for a couple of minutes. Just kind of the diverse range of people who are joining us this evening as well. People from all sorts of different backgrounds, which is absolutely wonderful. So that it really is great.
Thanks for that, Michael. So yeah, quickly, I would like to just go through a few of the house rules, just so that everyone knows how to proceed with this. Like we said, we have the chat function, which is now working properly. And that's mainly for these introductions at the beginning. And Lara, again, will be sending in some relevant links for the session. She will also send in the application link on our website once it is live. Regarding the time and space for questions, specifically relating to the different speakers, this will be set out in the next slide. Everyone has the option to ask questions in the Q&A box at the bottom of the screen, which will be answered when the individuals have finished their speeches. Additionally, if you'd prefer to speak, you can raise your hand, which is at the bottom of the screen as well. That's a virtual raising of the hand. And again, the speaker will be able to acknowledge that. Just trying to see if any more people are waiting to join us as well. It's great to see everyone sending into the group chat as well. Like Michal said, there's people from all over, and that's really great. Perfect. Okay, well, I think we seem to be, staying at the same kind of number, so we might start the presentations now. Again, if anyone else joins, we will let them know those housekeeping rules. So yeah, I'm just going to go on to a brief overview of the session. There we go. So yeah, this is just, again, thanks everyone for joining us this evening and taking some time out for what I'm sure you're very busy schedules. I'm going to spend the next few minutes going through the outline of the session just to tell you a bit about who's going to be speaking today. We've had to change a few of the schedules. So we are going to be starting with Afzal Khan, and he is the MP for Manchester Rusholme, and he is originally from Pakistan, and we're really excited to have him speaking today. He will be discussing his amazing journey in politics, from being a migrant councillor up to being a migrant MP. He is a member of the Labour Party, and it'll be great to have his insight into this programme. Following this, after this, we will hear from Martin Harris, the head of elections in North Warwickshire. He will provide all the important eligibility information so that everyone will have the knowledge if they can A, run for local council elections in England, and B, as a result, be part of the MPower programme. We will then have a quick break where people can grab a tea or a coffee, and then we will hear from the majority of speakers. They will all be migrants in politics. We will begin with Michał Szewniak. He is a Polish migrant councillor from the Liberal Democrat Party for Welwyn Hatfield Borough Council. He will be answering questions straight after his presentation, and it'll be great to hear a bit of insight into his work. Following him, we will hear from Sony Quintero. They are from Colombia. They are a previous participant of the MPower programme, and they do a lot of community work in Newham, London. A lot of this work is focused on LGBTQ+ refugee and asylum seekers, and they also founded Newham Poetry Group. And finally, last not but least, we have Kemal Shufuglu, a previous MPower participant who actually got elected in May 2024. Originally from Cyprus, Kemal got elected in Colchester's Castle Ward as a Green Party candidate, and he will discuss both his experience in the programme and as a migrant councillor. And the final part of this session will be my presentation on the MPower programme itself. I will spend around 10 minutes telling you about the work we do here at Migrant Democracy Project and what this next instalment of the MPower programme will include. It will also involve some information for the application form, as I'm sure that's what everyone needs. And yeah, we will conclude this with any questions you have regarding the programme itself. So I would just like to check if we have Martin. We have Afzal here. No, we don't. That's okay. We will wait another 5 minutes just to see if Afzal is able to join us. I will continue to look in the chat with all of the responses and at the results of the polls and quizzes. So far we have quite an interesting response to the polls. We have the majority of people are not already members of political parties. There's around 4 people that already are and 14 who aren't. regarding people's political journeys. The majority of people are at the beginning of their political journey, so we're very excited to have you joining us and honored that you've chosen us to pick to experience that. And I can see that it's split between with 3 each of people who have thought about running for election for a while and some who have ran for local council before. So that's really exciting as well. Also looking at if you were to stand, we can see that there's an interesting nearly tie between people wanting to run as independents and as people who would like to run for political parties. So that's really great. Please keep answering those polls so we can see more information on that front. There we go. So yeah, if anyone has any questions generally that they would like to ask anyone so far, if they would like to put that into the Q&A function at the bottom of the screen. This recording will be shared, Philippe. We can send that out to people once this is complete, and so that other people who have missed it as well might be able to find it. The link should be up on YouTube, so we'll be able to share that link with everyone. And yeah, for other people who have just joined us, if you would like to put into the chat a bit about yourself, where you're from originally and where you're currently based, and kind of maybe how you found out about this information session.
Basha, before Afzal arrives, maybe we just want to talk about the next slide, which is just information about us as an organization.
Absolutely.
Great, over to you.
Yeah, Migrant Democracy Project. Who are we and what do we do? So we are an organisation that supports migrants to participate in UK politics through voter registration, community and electoral organising. We do this through our MPower programme as well as through our Home, Our Vote campaign that advocates for voting rights for all. Migrants are key members of UK society and must have a say in how services are run. This is also really, really important at a local level where change is so directly seen. We believe that democracy works better when we all participate. And ultimately, we hope to transform the current political system through advocating for migrants' rights and helping more migrants get elected. We could also go on to the next slide, which just looks at their values. These are the important values we have here at Migrant Democracy Project. Migrant Democracy Project was originally set up by first-generation migrants with the aim to advocate for the political voice and representation of first-generation migrants. This understanding guides all the work we do, from our campaign, Our Home, Our Vote, to the MPower political leadership programme as well. It's very important to highlight the anti-racist and intersectional values at the heart of everything we do. We understand the different issues different migrants face, especially when it comes to experiences of racism. We continually attempt to reinforce an intersectional approach so that migrants from other marginalised backgrounds are advocated for, do have a voice, and are given the important information and resources that others are privy to. Both our anti-racist and intersectional approach are closely tied with our value around solidarity. Solidarity is really important to us here at MDP, and we believe that changing the political system and advocating for migrant rights will only succeed through our collaboration with and relationships with other organisations. We believe that if we share time, knowledge and space, creating shared goals and demands with other organisations, we can transform our communities and the political landscape. And last but not least, MDP values empowering migrants and building power. We do this through information, training, organising and campaigning, and we work with people at different stages of their political journey, from people who have little knowledge of their democratic rights to those who have the knowledge and need help for creating power for change. We share this with you to give a clear idea of our mission, as well as reinforce the kind of individuals we would like to participate in the MPower programme. It's important for us that future participants share these values and truly see the importance of bringing them into the democratic, political and community work. And Afzal Khan has just managed to join us, so we'll be hearing from him about his experience again as a migrant councillor up to a migrant MP, and his belief in the importance of representation.
Would you like me to start? Can you hear me?
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you, Afzal.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, can I just say good evening, and my name's you've been introduced, Afzal Khan. I'm a member of Parliament for Manchester, Russia, which has just been changed with the boundary changes. So it used to be Manchester Gorton. I'll share with you briefly my journey. Probably the starting point is, so don't be surprised in the sense how people get involved. There's all sorts of reasons why people get involved. And when I started, I actually had no interest in politics. So that's the sort of interesting aspect from my side, that I had no interest in politics. In fact, I had never even voted before that. I was so sort of far away from politics. Then the question is, well, what changed? And I think there are two things that changed for me. And one is, I suppose, we had a local councillor. When I looked at what he was doing and how he was operating, I actually found it very offensive, because I thought this guy, instead of trying to serve the community, he's too busy manipulating and using the community in a divisional point of view, dividing people up. And I thought, whoa, that can't be right. If you are going to be an elected person, then your job should be to bring people together. You should be building bridges, not the walls. So that was one thing which sort of got me annoyed. And I thought, no, I need to change this. And the second reason, I think, which probably also apply with many of you here, and that is that if we want to have a good, strong society, then the leadership should reflect that. And if it's not reflecting that, then you're going to be in trouble. And I say this as someone who's a member of Parliament for a Labour Party, and I realize that this is open to all parties. But the thing I want to share with you is that back in those days, there was a lot of success for the British National Party, and that was a sort of far right. And one of the areas where they did quite a good successful was Burnley. That's in Lancashire. This had, I think, about 13 councillors. Suddenly, they started winning. And then the party sort of asked me to go and help them out. So I'm from Manchester. Burnley is about 30, 40 minutes away from Manchester. So when I went there, I went to the Labour Party's office. And the office was on the first floor. And while I was walking up, there was a picture of all the key players of the Labour Party in Burnley. Now, when I looked at that picture, that's when the penny dropped. Because I was trying to understand, why is it that they're having so much success in Burnley, the far right? And that picture was fundamentally all men, all white, and almost all old. And that was the key for me. I thought, wow, if this clearly is not what Burnley is, and for them to be strong, then they need to have people which represent but make up the Burnley. So that, I think, is the second reason why we need to be involved in this. So the next point I want to say is, Malcolm X, some of you may have heard of him. He was a civil rights movement champion in America. He said something which is quite interesting. And that is that if you are not around the table, then you are on the menu. I don't think any of us want to be on the menu, who would like to try a menu, not want to be on the menu. So I thought that was powerful in the sense that it gets the message there that if you are not involved, what you're doing is fundamentally you are relying on someone else to understand what your needs are, how you're feeling, what needs to happen. And nobody can do better than you of what your needs are and how you feel and where, yeah. So in that sense, that's the message ultimately, that you've got to be engaged. If you're not engaged, then that means somebody else will be making decisions for you. And politics, the nature of the game is ultimately is very powerful. I've never understood the people. Sometimes you hear people saying, "Oh, I'm not interested in politics." You know, I was one of them as well. I never used to even vote. But then you realize once you get engaged, actually, how powerful it is and how important it is. Because what they make the law, everyone has to follow. So that's why you need to be engaged. So this is what sort of motivated me, why I wanted to be involved. Then I got involved. I've had an incredible journey, to be honest. I started at the bottom letter. I decided to join Labour Party. The reason I decided to join Labour Party is to do with my own views on life, how I saw the world. And fundamentally, that was, I believed in this idea of social justice. I think there needs to be fairness across the board for all. And I felt as a Labour Party, this is sort of the backbone of their values through which they operate. So that's how I managed to choose which party that I want to be part of. And so you may decide something else. But you need to think about that as well as a question. Because what's the choice? Because if you don't get involved with as a party, then you're left with as an individual. Now, independent. Now, this election, number of individual people have been successful, but the number remains small. And the truth is, throughout the history, if you analyze, fundamentally, the change can only happen through the party idea, not through an individual. Individual, whoever it is, can come along, and then most likely the next election they will lose. So the chances are stacked against you winning. Even if you do win, the chances are fairly high the next time you will not win. So that's why with a party that allows you to be part of a bigger team, and through a bigger team to have a program, through moving it to be successful. Because in democracy, one of the key points is it's a number game. It's a number game. And they sometimes say it's about bums on the seat. If you want to win, you need to make sure you've got enough in the party membership who'll support you so you can be a candidate, and then hopefully you'll be successful. So I think that's the next point I would make to you. The other thing I'll say to you, my own journey point of view, it's been fascinating. And it's been fascinating in the sense that I was successful. I became a counselor. Then I became an executive member. I've been an assistant executive member. I've been a lead member on different things, including race equality. I was also the Lord Mayor of Manchester. I was then Mayor of the Year for the Co-op Bank. They look at all the mayors, their work they do, and then give one of them. So I did well. I got Mayor of the Year. And then from on, I went on to take on Nick Griffin. You know, I told you about the BNP. That fight of mine has been throughout my political career. And he was representing the Northwest in the European Parliament. And every time I saw him in action, it was always about division, always about dividing, always spouting out hate. And I thought, no, that can't be right. So that was my next big battle. And then I did manage to defeat him. And then I'll share with you an interesting bit on here. And that is, when I stood against him as a member of European Parliament, the elections, you, as a party, you get a leaflet which will be paid by the government, which will go to every single house in that area. So in my case, that leaflet of the BNP went to every single house in the Northwest. And one of the messages he had put in there, which I was telling you about the hate idea that he operated on, and he said to them that, look, his fight is with the Muslim Labour. So he actually used these words. Although I was a Labour Party candidate, no, he didn't want to play with that, but he wanted to play with me as a faith, because he thought by playing this faith idea and anti-Muslim Islamophobia actually will help him to win. And then on the election night, he lost. I won. And guess what? I went over to him and I said, Nick, this is the message that you sent to the people of the Northwest. And look, people of the Northwest prefer a Muslim Labour over you. And he said to me, I'll be back like a Terminator. I said, no, you won't. You finished. So that was that. The other thing I'll share with you is something I think will be useful for you as well, if when you consider. There will be times where you think, this is hopeless. I'm not going to win. So what's the point? Now, this happened with me. And that's when I went for the Lord Mayor position. I was the first Asian Lord Mayor of Manchester. So I went to the leader and I said, look, I'm thinking of standing as a Lord Mayor. And I said, will you support me? He looked at me and he said, yes, I'll support you. So I felt great. The leader of the council is going to be backing me. So I assumed that meant I'm going to be winning. So I said to him, do you think I'm going to win? And he looked at me and he said, no. So I thought, hey, hold on a minute. And then I started thinking, I thought, well, if I'm not going to win, what's the point running for it? So I started doubting my judgment. And then I thought, I need to think about this. So I said, okay, let me think about this. So I left him. And then I came back, I thought about it. I took some advice. So here's the tip. Always take advice. And when I took the advice from my friends who were involved in politics, two of them, and both of them said, no, no, go for it. Even when he's saying you're going to lose. And the argument fundamentally was, the leader's argument was, you are good, but the person who's running against you is also good. And not only that, but he has been doing it longer than you. And not only that, he's been put his name before you. So he's already done a lot of campaigning. So you're coming almost at the last minute. And therefore, he thought, I will lose. Now, my friends, both have said, no, 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 you should go for it. And their argument was that even if you lose, you will gain the experience. You will gain the experience. And the second point was that by you going for it, you may lose, but he is someone who is a senior. So losing from someone senior, you're not going to be affected negatively at all. So you got no damage. But the people already know, the other councillors already know that you are interested. So your chances of winning next time will increase. So next day, I called the leader and I said, thank you very much for your advice, but I am going to run. And on the night, I won him by 2 votes. I won, yeah, and he lost. So if you're not willing to take the risk, then you're not going to win, are you? You got to be in it to win it. So that's why even the risk seems high, that chances of you being successful, you've got to be in there actually to stand a chance. So never be put off. Do put yourself forward. The couple of other things I'll say to you then is, the European Parliament, it also helped me. So whenever you take on these challenges, so when I took on the leader of the Nick Griffin, the biggest advantages I got, not only that I got rid of him, but also when I got to the European Parliament, my name had already arrived before me. The fact that I defeated the leader of the British National Party. So almost all of them already knew who I was. And that's a bonus. And the bonus in the sense that your chances of getting some responsibility, getting on, will be better. So straight away, I was made a vice chair of the Security and Defense Committee of the European Parliament. That's pretty heavyweight stuff. The best thing I knew about the defense was I was only a policeman in Manchester. And then having such a position. So that then opened up this opportunity for me to grow. And that was really helpful for me. So I had an amazing time there. And then with the Brexit, again, it was difficult, a lot of campaigning and all that happened. But ultimately, what then happened was the Brexit came along. So I knew now things are difficult. I think I'm running out of time. So let me wrap it up very quickly with a couple of quick points. So that brought me to the Parliament here. I was again successful. From then, very quickly, I became the front bench within weeks. Again, I was scared. Within weeks, I was asked to be a shadow minister for immigration. Immigration is a difficult subject. It's a hot potato. But I was doubtful. So when the leader asked me, I said, hold on, I've just got here. I don't know my left to right. And you want me to be the shadow minister for immigration? And he looked at me and he said, yes, I know you just got here, but I also know you have a lot of experience of life. Yeah. Then again, I genuinely was scared. I was nervous. I thought, whoa, this is huge responsibility. Again, I sought the advice. When I sought the advice, guess what? My friend said, go for it. Go for it. And the point was, at this level, the opportunities don't come every day. When they come, you got to grab them with both hands. And they said, well, okay, at the moment it seems daunting for you, but once you do it, when you work hard, you'll very quickly pick it up. And that's exactly what happened. I got rid of more immigration ministers than myself. I was there 3 years as a shadow immigration. I think I must have got through 5 ministers in that time. So I was more experienced as a shadow minister than actually the minister in the government. So yeah, you got to do it. And a couple of other things very quickly I'll say to you is this.
Afzal, sorry to
One
interrupt.
you want me to stop?
No, I don't. Well, we just have some questions in the
Okay,
chat.
I'll
I'm not
stop.
sure if you can
I'll
see them.
stop. Let's get the questions.
Well, thanks so much for speaking. I'm sure everyone really enjoyed that, and it was great to hear about your anti-racist work as well. Can you see the questions yourself, or would you like for me to read them out?
Please read it. I can't.
Yeah, no worries. We actually have a raised hand from Chitana. Chitana, do you want to speak? I can allow that for you now. There we go.
Excuse me, it was the bad hand. I didn't like to speak.
Okay, no
Can you
worries.
hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't want to speak. It was a hand in there. Sorry.
Oh, no worries at all. Thank you. Yeah, we've got some more questions in the Q&A box. Someone has asked, how do you make sure you're not just seen as a migrant? How do you show yourself to be capable in any policy topic and not to be put in a box?
Yeah, I mean, I think it does happen. So what you got to do is basically be more engaged. And secondly, I'd say to you, is this was one of my other advice, is it's always important to build alliances. In any groups, any party you join, there will always be groupings. That happens in politics to a certain degree. So it's important to build alliances. And then don't be too much into the grouping. I never have been, actually, but I try to keep a good relationship across the board. That I think also helps. And the third thing is actually developing your interest in different areas. Again, the more work you do, generally my rule is we are a jack of all trade, master of none, because you got to do so many different things in politics. But I think the more you do the subject which interests you, the more you get to be recognized also as an expert. It's about building that expertise, which is actually important. And the second point, like I said, is showing more interest in different things, because sometimes they think if it's a minority issue, it's only your business. No, it's everybody's business. And it's important to make sure you rope other people into that as well.
Amazing, thank you. We have another question here. Did you experience any xenophobia and how you deal with it?
Yeah, I think generally all the stats, all the research shows that there are issues, there are concerns. But broadly speaking, what I'll say to you is that Britain is generally a pretty good place, actually. And also the majority of the people all the time in any part of the world are always good people. It's always the small minority. It's about that small minority you need to learn to handle. That, I think, is the key area here. And the third thing I'll say is you can basically deal with the issue in an effective manner, how you approach things. Yeah, your own approach also has an effect on how others feel. I mean, I've had a number of different experiences, and I share with you not my experience, but actually experience of my daughter. She was a candidate, and one of the women came to her and she said, "Go back to your country." So she looked straight at her and she said, "I was born in Manchester. Where would you like me to go?" And then she said to her, Why don't you talk to me about the issues that affect your life and my life? And after that discussion, that lady went home. She sent an email back to her and apologized for what she had said, and said, not only that I'll be voting for you, I will make sure rest of my friends and families also vote for you. So you can turn things to your advantage as well. And you should always do that. Be better than the other side. So the negativity, show it with positive.
That's amazing. Thanks so much. Unfortunately, guys, that's all we have time for in terms of the questions today. But I feel like the last response also really spoke to how to engage yourself with in community engagement, and all the great things you can do as a local councillor.
Can I say this finally, thank you very much. I'm sorry this was short, but all I can say to you is, look, any of you feel anytime I can do anything, any second opinion, feel free to contact me. I'll be more than happy to help. All right. All the best. Enjoy the rest of the program.
Thanks so
you,
much.
Afzal.
Have a nice evening. I'm sure you can all agree that was really great to hear from Afzal. Up next, we will be hearing from Martin Harris. He is the head of elections in North Warwickshire, and he will be going a bit into eligibility. So this is going to be who can stand for local councils in election, and hopefully this will all help you make a decision in if you can apply for the new MPower programme.
Thanks very much. Yeah, so quite an act to follow. I'm not going to be quite as interesting as Afzal, but I'll try my best. This is some of the nuts and bolts about who can stand for election. And this is my job, basically. So in every council in the UK, there will be someone like me whose job it is effectively to get you on the ballot paper, to help you breach those barriers and get to the point where you can stand for election. Now, obviously going off and getting elected, I can't help you with that bit. That's on you. But actually getting your name on the ballot paper in the first place, making sure you're qualified to stand, this is where we help with. I've got a couple of slides to go through. There's some qualification criteria you need to meet, and there are also some disqualification criteria that can't apply to you as well. So they're going to need to think of these from both different angles. I've got a couple of links which I'll dump into the chat as well, and I thought might be useful if you're looking to stand for election in future. Just in the chat now is a link to which elections are happening where in the UK, because of course there aren't elections to every council every year. So for example, London, big elections in May 2024, not for some years again now. So for this year, generally it's county council elections going on in more rural areas. So there might not be elections in your area that you can stand in this year. But on that link there, it's quite a long web page. If you do Control F and then search for your area, you'll find when your next elections are in your area. So it's quite a handy resource there. So that's a starting place. Is there an election you can even stand in? That's somewhere to start, I suppose. So I suppose one of the things I'd say is, as well as building a very good relationship with your local elections office, someone like me, is obviously there's a number of organisations like the Migrant Democracy Project who are great at helping people stand for election. I can really recommend the Electoral Commission website and the LGA, the Local Government Association's Be a Councillor website. Both of those are really good resources for, like, well, why would you even stand for this? What powers do councillors have? What can you do if you get elected? And therefore, why would you want to bother, I suppose? The Electoral Commission is the place to go for all of the information you need as a voter, as well as a candidate or agent. So am I allowed to do this when I'm campaigning? Am I allowed to do this? That kind of thing. And also there's other organisations like Migrant Democracy Project based on improving representation. So there's the Elect Her campaign as well, obviously trying to deal with the gender imbalance in elected politicians. And I like Afzal's example, my council, we normally call it pale, male and stale, as in we are all white men and also old as well. So hopefully we can do something to correct some of that. Okay. And I realise that I am all of those things. So this is why I'm the other side of the ballot paper, getting people like you elected. Okay, so you need to be qualified to stand for election. So you can't just do it because you're in the UK. There are a few rules around it. So you need to be satisfy the criteria I'll go through when you put your nomination papers in to someone like me and all the way through to polling day. So it can't be you're 18 on polling day or the day before the election. You've got to be 18 when you put the nomination papers into someone like me. So you've got to be 18 years of age and you've got to have the right one of the right nationalities, and I'll go through that in detail in a minute. And then depending on the type of election, you need to be resident in a certain area as well. The idea is you've got a local connection to where you're standing for election. So I'll go through all of these things in turn. So I'll circle back on nationality in a minute, actually, sorry. So you've got age, are you old enough? Are you going to be 18 on when you put your papers in and on polling day? Yes, okay, great. We'll come back to nationality. On this slide, we've got there are a range of things that you need to think about whether they apply to you. And they're based generally on your residence. So for example, if I want to stand for election in the London Borough Tower Hamlets, well, I need to be either one of those 4 things on there. I need to be registered to vote in Tower Hamlets. I need to basically, number 2 is basically I own or occupy premises or have a rental agreement with a property in Tower Hamlets. It needs to be a place I generally work, my principal place of work. Or if none of the else apply, at least you've lived in the borough for the last 12 months. And that applies in whichever council area you're standing for. So I've got Warwickshire County Council elections in May 2025. So anyone who lives in Warwickshire who satisfies those criteria can stand for election to that body. But I couldn't stand for election if I lived 100 miles away and never even came to Warwickshire, because those wouldn't apply to me. So you've got to have a degree of local connection to where you're standing for, which obviously makes sense. That's why you're standing in that area. So that's for council elections, and that's borough council, county council, parish council, any type of local election, they apply. Parliamentary elections, actually, it's slightly easier to stand for election for parliamentary elections for some reason. You don't, the nationality thing is still slightly more complicated, but you don't even need to live anywhere near the constituency in which you're living, which you're standing, sorry, and you don't even need to be in the UK, which is a little bit unusual, but there you go. So there's a residency criteria there. You need to have a link to where you're standing. So I come back to nationality. I've skipped over a slide already. So what we have here, the nationality falls into 2 different categories for the purposes of getting on the ballot paper. So you need to be a UK, EU, or qualifying Commonwealth national to stand for election. What do those mean? Well, so qualifying Commonwealth means you need to have a Commonwealth nationality, and you need to be in the UK on a legal basis. So that could be a 3-year working visa, it could be a 12-month student visa. But if you're in the UK legally and you've got a Commonwealth nationality and you're over 18, then you can stand for election. Some of you are probably going, which countries in the Commonwealth? And there's about 35 of them, so you might not know. So in the chat, again, here's a list of Commonwealth countries. So a couple of people are talking about where they were from originally. So we've got some people from Nigeria, Sierra Leone, Commonwealth countries, of course. So if your nationality is on that list of Commonwealth countries, then yes, you can stand for election. And as long as you're in the UK on a legal basis, then you can stand. A sidebar here on people from Ireland, Malta, and Cyprus, because of course your countries are in the EU, but you're also in the Commonwealth. So from the purposes of electoral registration, if you're from Ireland, Malta, or Cyprus, you're also a Commonwealth citizen as well as an EU citizen. So you kind of double up there as well. And there's a note there about leave to remain and things like that. So ineffectively, as long as you're in the UK on a legal basis, then you can stand for election. When you stand and put your papers in, we're not going to look to see your passport. There's no process of checking your immigration status. There's no point us checking your nationality. It's a whole kind of honesty process where you're saying, yes, I'm qualified, these things apply to me, and we take it at face value. We're not going to start looking at people's passports or anything like that. Okay, so that's Commonwealth citizens. EU citizens is a little bit more complicated nowadays, and this is something that Migrant Democracy Project have been campaigning on. But in effect, due to Brexit and changes to elections law, depending on your nationality within the EU, depends on the rights you have now to stand for election and register to vote. So the good news is, if you're from Spain, Portugal, Luxembourg, Poland, or Denmark, you're completely unaffected and you can stand for election, register to vote, be a candidate, be a councillor without any issues. But if you have an EU nationality that's not any of those, then you need to have been in the UK before a certain point to stand for election. And that certain point is the 31st of January 2021. So if you were a resident in the UK before 31st of January 2021, you don't need to worry about it, because in effect you were here before Brexit happened, weren't you? But if you've been in the UK, if you've entered the UK for the first time, if you like, after that point, then your rights may be different and they're not guaranteed and automatic. So it might be a conversation you'd need to have with either the Migrant Democracy Project or someone like me to make sure, am I eligible to stand if I'm quite recently new to the UK? Yeah, so unfortunately, the government made that more complicated. And again, I've got another link about that. Again, this is on the Electoral Commission website, and this is really handy because this is kind of voter facing rather than elections expert facing, about rights for EU citizens as well. So have a look at those. So Commonwealth and EU, have a look away and make sure you know what your status is. Because unfortunately, if it turns out that you can't stand for election and you get to the right at the end point, and even if you're elected, if it comes out later that you weren't eligible to stand, then you will lose your seat and making the whole process. It's a bit of a waste. So yeah. Okay, so you have to be qualified by age, residency, as I say, living in the area you live, or by your nationality. The rules are slightly different in Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland, but I think you guys in MDP, we're just talking about England, really, aren't we? So I'll skip past that, but that's for information in the slides afterwards. It's more complicated there anyway, so happy to blast past that one. So you have to be qualified, as I said, for those different reasons, but you also can't be disqualified. And there's a range of disqualifications. It's quite a long list, and I could go through that. And part of the process here is if you're not sure if any of these apply to you, you need to get some advice. Either you can come to me via Russia and Lara, I'm happy to help, but you need to understand whether these apply to you because they're quite individual. So things like if you're employed by the council you want to stand for. So if, for example, you work as a teacher in the local authority, you can't be a councillor for that local authority. You might be able to be a councillor for the one next door if that's where you live, but you can't be a councillor and employed by the council you work for. For obvious reasons, you can't have two hats, if you like. If you've been bankrupt in the last few years, you may be disqualified, or if you've had a term of imprisonment or even a suspended sentence in the last 5 years. None of this will apply to any of you, but one of these bullet points, if you've been found guilty by an elections court of trying to rig elections, funnily enough, you're not allowed to stand for election. And there's some stuff there about things like sexual offences. So if there's restraining orders or things like that which apply to you, that would disqualify you too. And that last one won't apply to anyone here, but that's if you do something like my job, in that I'm politically restricted. I can't comment on politics. Funnily enough, I'm not allowed to stand for election. I'm supposed to be neutral. So there's disqualifications as well. More of this is all on the Electoral Commission website about who can, who can't stand, but your circumstances will dictate what you need to do there. Last thing I'll say quickly, hopefully I haven't gone over time too much, but just to say, when you get to the point of actually, do you know what, I think I'm quite ready to stand, you need to find someone like me in your local area. Folks here and myself can help you find who that is and get you over the barrier to actually get that appointment, sit down with someone like me, and we'll go through your nomination papers with you. It's not a process where we're going to turn around and reject it out of hand. We're here to help you get on the ballot paper, as I say, trying to reduce the barriers to people actually getting on the ballot paper and standing. Once you get on there, of course, the rest is up to you. But if there's any particular advice you need, any help, via Lara and Roshan, do get in touch. I'm happy to help get people over the line, so to speak. And that's it from me.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Martin. Hopefully that has made it a lot easier for people to see if they can run for local council elections. We'll now open up the questions. If anyone wants to raise their hand or put it into the question and answer box regarding eligibility, maybe Martin will be able to help you with that. Or even give me a thumbs up in the chat if everyone understands everything fully and thinks everything was covered perfectly.
Martin, I think there was a question which is more about like how political parties support you, but if you are a member of a political party, do you need, does the party do all of the eligibility processes for you, or do you still need to know the processes?
I'm really sorry, Lara, can you repeat that? But my mic dropped out exactly the moment when you were asking the question.
No, it's just asking, if you are signing up to be a political party candidate, do you need to take care of all of the questions that you just raised with us, or does the political party cover everything for you?
Yeah, it's a good question. So they may do a sifting process where they try and, especially find out if you're disqualified for any reason. But it's so individual, and actually the paperwork you need to submit needs to be so specifically correct but I wouldn't leave it to the political party to have fixed all of those things. It's your responsibility to get us the papers correctly. Often what will happen is you might have one person locally who's really good at doing this process and can get you, and you might have to deliver all your information to them, and then they submit like 10 or 15 at a time to someone like me. But actually, it depends. The individual responsibility to get yourself on the ballot paper, I would always take that personally, and want to deliver my own papers. And then we'll hand you a letter saying, great, you're on, so to speak.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Martin. We do have a raised hand. Shams, I will allow you to speak now.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Great presentation, Martin. My name is Shams. I live in the Northeast in Darlington. Wonderful presentation. What do you mean by politically restricted? Sorry, I just want to ask if you can extend on that a little bit.
Yeah, so it applies to people who work for local councils, and it often depends on what your job is or your seniority. So if you're the chief executive of Birmingham City Council, for example, you're dealing with politicians day in, day out, and by virtue of your job, you shouldn't be involved in party politics, and so you're restricted. Your activities are restricted, so you won't be able to campaign on the doorstep for a political party. Myself and my team, because we're organising elections, so that we are above, beyond reproach, if you like, we're all restricted as well. So we're not able to go campaigning, or we shouldn't be posting on Facebook. We know what we think, that kind of thing. It's the kind of thing that you would probably know if you were. But if you're not sure and you work at a council, your HR department will know. It's the kind of thing that's in your job description.
Okay, that's all right. I was just wondering if you're like lobbying the local councillors, if that may involve you to be restricted. It doesn't, does it?
No. So it's something that applies to your employment.
Employment, yeah,
yeah,
that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. The second question, sorry about that, is we spoke about in general EU and also about Commonwealth. But what about those that are not members of the Commonwealth that have got residency in the UK?
So that's a very good question, actually, because they're I've talked through who is qualified, but unless you have UK, EU, or Commonwealth nationality, you can't stand for election or register to vote in the UK elections, any elections. The only exception is in Scotland and Wales. They've introduced something where it doesn't matter what your nationality is, as long as you're in the country legally, you can stand for election. And that's something that MDP has been campaigning on. You're here, so you should be able to stand for election. So depending on nationality, if it's none of those, you won't be able to stand for election, I'm afraid.
Yeah, that's exactly why I was asking. Sorry, I won't be long, because I remember we were campaigning to the Scotland one. I think it was 2021 that was actually admitted or passed. The bill was passed. But in UK, does that mean that the UK is not democratic enough, or does that mean that Scotland respects more human rights?
I mean, we're straying into politics here, but
sorry.
you may have a point.
You don't need to answer that. Sorry, that's just me being a little bit cheeky. Sorry, go for it. That's fine.
But yeah, just to clarify again, then. So yeah, unless you've got that UK, EU, or Commonwealth nationality, you can't stand for election. But if your nationality changes for any reason, so if you go through British citizenship and you become British, like the council will just register to vote again, and will update your nationality straight away. So there's once you've got over that hurdle, if you like, you can stand for elections like there and then. So if that applies to people.
So if I have indefinite leave to remain or free to enter, if I'm not a Commonwealth citizen, can I now vote in England local elections?
Can I ask what your nationality is? Because that will depend.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Non-Commonwealth citizen. Yeah.
So then no. So your immigration status doesn't affect your ability to vote or not. It's your nationality. Yeah, we don't conduct any checks on immigration status when you register to vote or when you stand for election. As long as you're telling us, here's who I am, here's where I live, here's my date of birth, so we know you're over 18, then we're happy to add you onto the ballot paper.
Lovely, thank you. I appreciate that.
Thanks so much, Martin. We have one last quick question, if that's okay with you. Precious has put into the group chat, does volunteering as a magistrate count as working for your local borough?
No, it doesn't. So you can do both. Oh, I don't know the rules though at the magistrate's end. So if you got elected, I don't know whether they wouldn't let you be a magistrate anymore. But it doesn't stop you being elected, and you can be a councillor. That's for certain. So.
Okay, amazing. Thanks so much. Do we have anyone else?
There's 3 quick questions in the Q&A function. If Martin can answer super quickly, because I know that Michal has to go soon.
Will you vote for election if you're a civil servant? And he goes, yes. So I'm aware of one councillor who lives near me actually, who works for the land registry. He's a civil servant and a councillor. That's fine. You can't stand for parliament though. There are some rules around parliament, being a parliament, and then being a civil servant, you have to resign, I think. If charity employees staff, yeah, nothing, there's no restrictions on charity employees or anything like that. The only thing would be is if for any reason, like anything to do with the council. So maybe if you, I'm trying to give an example, some kind of arm's length body that technically is the council, but you might be working for the council. So maybe like a contractor or something like that. There can be some, especially about education, there can be some grey areas there. But you should check if your employment says, am I a council employee? Or am I treated as a council employee? That would probably be the thing to do. If all your status, I wonder if this is a good anonymous attendee asks this question. If you're a nurse and you got your license restricted on the grounds of fitness to practice, etc., do you restrict you from standing? No. So as long as, like I said, the disqualification is around criminal prosecutions. So if that situation, if it's not a criminal prosecution, then you wouldn't need to declare it. There's no it used to be called Criminal Records Bureau checks, detting and barring service, where you can't be employed because of X or Y criminal thing in your past. That doesn't apply to being a counsellor. Arguably, maybe it should, but it doesn't. So you don't need to worry about that. You don't need to declare that. Yeah.
Okay, amazing. Thank you so much, Martin. Again, if anyone remembers any questions they have after this, you can contact me and I can put on some, can send off some more questions towards Martin's way. Thanks again. So up next, we're going to have Michal speaking, and that will be followed by a short break. Michal, again, is a councillor for Welwyn Hatfield. He's in the Liberal Democrat Party and has done a lot of work for migrants at a local level. And Lara, if you would like to share.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. Fantastic to see you. Martin, really good presentation, I have to say. Very, very interesting, I have to say. So really well done for being so informative. And just one thing I would add before I start, it definitely is worth for each one of you. If you have any questions in terms of your eligibility to stand or vote in local elections, I definitely would suggest that you talk to or speak to or you ring Martin's kind of equivalent across the areas that you live in. In my case, it would be our election officers or department within our council, but definitely think it's worth checking because I think it's really important for us, if we can, to have that vote. So once again, thank you for inviting me. My name is Michał Siewniak. I'm originally from Poland, and I've been living here for the last 20 years. I've done already quite a bit of work with Lara and her team. Really delighted to be here with you this evening. The whole agenda around civic activism, civic engagement is really close to my heart. I have prepared a short presentation, and hopefully I'll be done and that's it in 10 minutes. And I hope that you will have a few questions as well. So as I said, I come originally from Poland, from a beautiful place called Lublin on the border of Ukraine. I moved around quite a bit, I have to say. I also did my master's. I'm a history teacher by profession. I did my master's in Croatia in a beautiful capital city called Zagreb. And then after living in Croatia for more or less 3 years, I also had the chance to live in Italy, in Tuscany, very close to Florence for a year. And then, decided to move, to Britain. And it has been, almost 20 years. It's quite a while, I have to say. So that's kind of, a bit about me to start with, if you like. Right. Again, hopefully you will see that, I don't have I have a lot of images and, each image can be defined and described in a lot of different ways. I am, a proud migrant. I always, I'm very happy to say that I've migrated, from Poland to Croatia, from Croatia to Italy, and then from Italy to Britain. And it's always interesting when you look at your own journey. That's why, the comment I made at the beginning, it's wonderful to see so many people from so many different nationalities, because it is so important that we try to be part of the process. I do think that Mr. Khan, our MP, made a lot of excellent points, and I have to say that so far both presentations were absolutely superb. And I'm not saying it to flatter anyone, but it really is important for us, to be part of the process. He used this analogy of sitting around the table rather than being a menu on the table as well. So I absolutely agree with that 100%. But that journey of a migrant sometimes is quite, daunting. It's challenging, it's demanding. We come with, also different ideas. I want to do X, Y, and Z. The journey is quite lonely. You leave your family behind, your friends, your culture that the place you grew up in as well. And it definitely often is quite rocky. So when I look back in the last 20 or years of my life in the UK, again, if someone told me 20 years ago, even though I was always very interested in politics, maybe also because I was studying history, I probably I would struggle to believe that I'll be elected, for the third time. Next slide, Lara. I have a lovely assistant, Lara. Thank you, Lara. Right, I'll start with this because I think that is so important. We don't have a lot of time maybe for me to ask you some of the questions, but this actually slide is quite important to me. I really, if I was to ask you what springs to your mind when someone says, I'm from Poland, I wonder, what would you say? Some people, I often ask this question, and people say hardworking, reliable, builders, I don't know, electricians, plumbers, all those kind of things. And I think one of the things I've learned in Britain is because we are living in such a multicultural society, I've learned not to make assumptions. So I'm more than happy to admit if in Lara's house, a sink is broken, I cannot fix it. I have absolutely no manual skills. I'm absolutely useless. Okay. But then I was thinking, okay, I can't fix things and, maybe, fix roads and stuff like that. But I have other skills and talents. So that set of skill, which is, first of all, I would like to think being quite open-minded, loving, to talk to people as well, being always interested in democracy and the political process. I've kind of suggested, what if I was to change myself if I was to stand in local elections? So yeah, that's what I decided to do. I always felt that it's really important for me to push myself as well, try to achieve something in life as well, but most importantly, try to use every single opportunity. Every opportunity that comes our way to our advantage, and again, Mr. Khan mentioned this as well in his presentation, in order to make a difference. And I would like to emphasize this: it's not about so much about me, my journey, but again, what this role and my councillorship, if you like, can do for the local community as well. What kind of impact can I bring to my local neighborhood? And that was in a way driving me massively. But the changing perception was really quite important element of as well. So having can-do attitude, also as an immigrant, which obviously wasn't easy. As soon as I opened my mouth, people know that I'm from Central Eastern Europe. Having this kind of drive and can-do attitude is really hugely helpful, or has been helpful. Next slide, please. Right, I'll give you a lot of examples because again, this meeting this evening as well, I often, I would encourage each one of you, at least to have a go at this because it is a wonderful journey. Really, it is a wonderful journey to stand for an election. But there's so many other ways in which we can make a difference, in our communities. So I just want to give you, kind of an example of a few things that I've been doing to really kind of, mobilize people, motivate them as well, and very, very importantly, work with other groups and organizations, and very often with underrepresented communities to give them a voice. So as an example, I was approached, 4 years ago now, almost, by my local newspaper, and I write on a monthly basis. I have my own column, which is absolutely wonderful. I kind of fell in love with writing during the pandemic, and I kind of publish as a volunteer writer in quite a few different places. So I've worked quite close with Lara because recently our council, and again, that has been a really beautiful story of our council, my council, Welland Hatfield Council, accepting, kind of, I was presenting a motion basically all about voting rights of EU nationals, and and migrants living across Welland Hatfield, and that motion has been passed. And again, only a week ago, that motion, the story of that motion has been published in the local newspaper, which is absolutely amazing. And again, just to give you one example, which is absolutely fascinating, how important it is really to use every single opportunity to really kind of, make that impact, positive impact on our communities. A week ago, we had a public consultation where I live, because obviously, like everywhere else, there's a huge demand, for housing. And I went to a public consultation event, for 45 minutes. I spoke with a few people, and an older gentleman approached me, and he said to me, I read your article. I absolutely loved it. My daughter-in-law is French. She cannot vote in general elections. However, she was called to jury service. And he said to me, I'm so pleased that you are, you've been working on this campaign with, with Migrant Democracy Project, because this is not fair for her not to be able to vote and yet being called in, if you like, by jury service as well. So really, every single opportunity we just have to kind of use to our advantage. I often talk about Parliament, so I work very closely. I'm honorary trustee of the Polish Saturday School where I live. So every year, one of my favorite campaigns in the UK is a campaign called Parliament Week, and it always happens in November as well. So I talk to Polish kids in Polish about the importance of voting, but also helping them to understand how the Parliament works as well. I'm involved in a number of campaigns, and again, I try to use every single kind of day as a way to really bring people together, from organizing litter pigs, as you can see, Father Santa Claus from Poland. That photo, the image on the right bottom right hand side as well, is from one of our kind of action days in the local community. Next slide, please. As I said to you, this has been always really important to me. Again, Mr. Khan alluded to it a number of times. It's very difficult for us to make any changes locally. Yes, of course they are, possible, without understanding how the process at the local national level works. It's really important for us to be able to, understand how we can influence policies at kind of, also different kind of local, county council, or national levels. For me, yes, we can all read books, we can write articles. I think for me, it's all about this, having the can-do attitude and trying to kind of bring democracy closer to people. Being that kind of, I would say, I was thinking about it today in preparation for the meeting, being a kind of a witness of democracy. So I have been able to help organize probably around 10 trips to the House of Parliament. So overall, I've taken more or less 300 people to the House of Parliament, and that every single time is a mind-blowing experience. The reception, people then, get the enthusiasm, the incentive to be involved has been absolutely amazing as well. So, and also what I've been trying to do as well is trying to invite local MPs across different parts of Hertfordshire to come to some of the meetings. Interestingly, hot from the press, really delighted that I've received a phone call from MP from Welland Hatfield, a new MP, who replaced Grant Shapps, who was, until recently, as Defence Secretary and Housing Minister and Business Secretary. They called me last week to say that you've been, we've noticed that you've been doing a lot of work with the Ukrainian community. Can we meet members of the Ukrainian community? So again, I had a phone call today with them as well, and we'll be meeting late November. So really beautiful thing. I love House of Parliament, probably one of my favorite buildings in the UK. Next slide, please. Only 2 more slides to go. Please don't worry. Again, a couple of other examples as well. So on the left-hand side at the top, if you can see it, a photo of us and the Ukrainian community meeting with the leader of the council as well a few years ago. Because I speak Croatian language, I've done a lot of work with the Bosnian community. So people from Bosnia, as you know, war in Yugoslavia until 1995, quite a few people have migrated or left, actually, and fled. Bosnia and Herzegovina ended up living in Boremut, just outside of London, close to Edgware. So again, I'm inviting them to a school in Welling City with deaf children, which was really interesting. I work very close with local schools. Again, one of the images, again, an example of a flight, kind of litter picking activity, looking closely with NHS. And one last thing, one of the images at the bottom is an image that I, have taken at the Wembley Stadium a few years ago, when I took a few refugees to Syrian refugees to a game England was playing against in Germany. Again, for me, there are certain ways in which we can really enhance collaboration and kind of partnership working across all agencies, and sport is definitely one of them. You don't have to speak the language, to go to watch a game, to play football. Art is another example, maybe music. So I've tried to kind of use different ways to reach out to people and really, improve the integration process of migrant communities. Next slide. And yeah, again, a couple of other examples, really a beautiful story as well. I went to a school in Lublin, obviously, and a year and a half ago, I was invited to go back to talk about my experience of being a Polish counselor in the UK. So, 200 children in a hall, really, really wonderful experience. Again, I wasn't even talking so much about, my political background, if you like. I was more interested in motivating people really to kind of do something good for their community as well. And again, a couple of other examples of me kind of being involved in a number of other things as well, organizing an art exhibition with the High Sheriff of Hertfordshire, or organizing council surgeries in a shopping pavilion as well. So really trying to use every single moment, opportunity really to kind of create, as Mr. Khan said, and not necessarily walls but bridges. And the last slide this is the slide that I often mention, and I think that slide represents absolutely everything and doesn't need any commentary. I will just read it out. People often say with pride, I'm not interested in politics. And they might as well say, I'm not interested in my standard of living, my health, my job, my rights, my freedoms, my future, or any future. If we mean to keep any control of our world and lives, we must be interested in politics. And that it really is very important. Not everyone has to be an MP, member of the European Parliament, or even a councillor, but we really have to try to be, playing this kind of active role of citizens wherever we live as well, because there are countless ways in which we can make a difference as well. And this, absolutely, would like to finish with this as well. This cannot be taken for granted. We should cherish our opportunity really to be actively involved in the civic engagement process. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Michal. Are you able to see the questions and answers, or would you like me to read those out for you?
Sorry, I was concentrating on the presentation, so I haven't seen any. If you can read it out, that would be great.
Yeah, no worries. So the first one is from Leandra. They say, apart from Leila Moran, who has spoken about her family in Gaza, as a potential counsellor, how can we mention conflict abroad whilst also letting potential voters know that you also care about local issues?
A very good question. So yes, Leila Moran is again, I have to say, quite a person. I have a lot of time for her. I've never had the chance to meet her, but she's an MP in Oxfordshire. I'll tell you what I saw recently, and that was quite a moving experience. All those kind of international conflicts, affect us all. And again, I have to say, my heart every single time bleeds when I watch news. I have to say that what she does at the kind of national level, I also try to do at the local level. So a couple of weeks ago, I saw her on BBC Breakfast. I think she was with Laura Kunsberg, the quite a well-known a political journalist. And she was attending basically she was a part of an interview with a guy from a Jewish community, and they were talking about working together to build peace. And I think this is important, because there's a lot of things I cannot, influence at the international level. Yes, of course, I would love every single war to stop. I can't. So I have to work locally across my neighborhood, across my communities, to really try to be as impactful as possible. And interestingly as well, the reason I have to leave a bit earlier, because I was invited to an event organized by Quakers, so it's a kind of Christian organization, on non-violent communication. And that is really important, using dialogue as a way to build bridges with people as well, even when it is difficult. And to give you two other examples of how I'm trying to implement it, is this year, literally 5 weeks ago, I've organized a peace walk in Wellingham City, which was attended by more than 40 people. And it was quite a moving experience, because I said to people, we are walking in silence for half an hour, and then we had a kind of a little kind of session with a couple of different things. So again, there are definitely a lot of different things in which we can kind of get involved in and support locally. So even though that things that are happening at the national level, are badly affecting us, we can still be positively present in our neighborhoods.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. The next question is, you mentioned a lot of lovely things you do. Sadly, we often hear a lot of bad stories about politicians and corruption. How can we ensure we stay out of the bad part of politics?
Fantastic question. I love that question. Listen, I will tell you again. So our first speaker gave a really good example of trying to kind of, or actually not his example, but his daughter example of almost kind of, changing someone else's perception of this particular individual and receiving an apologetic letter. I think that we have to do a number of things. I really try, it's not always possible, I try to have a really positive and kind of, enthusiastic approach to things. It's very easy to be negative. It's very easy to be divisive. The amount of polarization we're experiencing today, there are so many people, left, right, and center, trying to divide us. I think one of the, most amazing Labour MPs, Joe Cox, who was, unfortunately murdered a few years ago, said something that always will always stay with me. We should. She said something like, we should be thinking about things that unite us and a lot less about things that divide us. Because we as human beings, whether you come from Sierra Leone, Nigeria, Poland, or Japan, we have still so many commonalities. And I think we far too often try to concentrate on negative things rather than try to concentrate on positive things and things that, can bring us together. That's number one. Number two, which I think is important, and I absolutely love canvassing and campaigning. I love door knocking. It could be my full-time job. And I will never ever forget, plenty of conversations. One of them was with a gentleman who was a Brexit voter, and nothing wrong with that, obviously. And I spent 25 minutes talking to him, and he said to me, "I will vote for you only because I felt that you're authentic." So there is no such thing as being fake. You get what you see. For example, in my case, and I really try to kind of present myself as Michał, without hiding anything, without hiding my background, my Polishness and stuff like that. And I think that resonates with people as well. If you're authentic, open, honest, good communicator, it really resonates with people, I think.
Okay, thank you so much for speaking today, Michał. And I'm sure everyone agrees. Good luck with your event after this.
Thank you. Wonderful to see you all. Good luck, and massive thank you to both of you and Migrant Democracy Project. To see 40 people attend this event, on rather cold and miserable, whatever it is, Monday evening, is wonderful. And I really, kind of, I'm all kind of very enthusiastic about your involvement, and I hope that as a result of the event and many other sessions that Migrant Democracy Project will be running, you will decide to stand as well, for whoever you want to stand. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
See ya.
So we will just take a short 5-minute break. So if anyone needs to go to the toilet or get a cup of tea or anything, and yeah, we'll be back in 5 minutes. Thanks.
Hi, Sony. We were just having a.
Sorry about that. I couldn't find the link.
That's okay. We're here now. Just to say, you used my link, so you're coming up as Lara. So if you can click on those three dots and rename yourself. And as you can see, we were just offering people a 5-minute break so that they could go grab themselves some tea. But there's about 40 of us in the call, so you just can't see everyone because they are in webinar mode.
And how has been so far?
Great, yeah, lots of great questions.
Good, good. Oh, wow, you have a lot of people, 32 participants. Wow, that's massive. Great.
Yeah, everyone that's seeing Sony, feel free to reintroduce yourselves in the chat. Say where you're logging in from if you're already back from your coffee.
Okay, so what I need to do?
Right now, do you see those three dots next to your face?
Yes. Okay, yes.
Click rename. Or maybe
Rename.
Rasha can do it
Yes.
for you.
No.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Nice.
Hi, Rosie.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Yeah, perfect. So we'll just give everyone one more minute to come back from their coffees and then we can hand it over to you. I'll just give your introduction again in case everyone forgot. This is Sony Quintero. They're from Colombia and they are a previous participant of the MPower program. They do a lot of community work in Newham, London, and a lot of this work is focused on LGBTQ refugee and asylum seekers. And they also founded Newham Poetry Group. So they're going to discuss a bit their work within their community and as well their experience with the MPower program. So yeah, Sony, if you want to take it away.
Yes. Okay, hello everyone. Well, I'm going to start. I didn't make a PowerPoint presentation, but I'm going just to talk a little bit. Thank you for the introduction. As you say, my name is Sonia Quintero. I'm a Colombian British poet. I have been living in London now for almost 14 years now, I think. I just forget how many years I have been living here. And I love poetry. I love different creative activities and creative ways to express yourself. And this is my main big identity, I will say. And I'm from Latin America, as you say. Sometimes I write poetry in Spanish or in English, depending on my feelings. And I just published my last poetry, my last booklets of poetry in English and Spanish. So this is me. And as you say, I have been working with different communities. I started 10 years ago, I started a Newham Poetry Group that is starting with poetry, but actually we use different creative activities to engage with different communities. So this is how I start to work with communities in London, but I have previous experience working with different communities in Colombia. When I came here, I started Newham Poetry Group, and this is a way to start to know different people and the diversity of Newham. I don't know if you are familiar with East London and Newham. Basically, we have more than 200 languages spoken in Newham. We have people from everywhere around the world. So obviously, it was a challenge to start to talk about poetry and creative writing with. Yes, I am reading I am reading the comments. So anyway, I start to work with the community, and because my own identity also, I was very focused with refugees, with immigrants, with forced immigrants, and I also was focused in LGBTQ. I think LGBTQ refugees are quite marginalized in a marginalized community. So I was very, very keen to actually work with these communities. I also have a group that is borderless, that we work with different people from different part of the world in London, and I also have some initiatives in my country, in Colombia. I have a Fundación Casa Sofía that is also working with LGBTQ people from the rural area in Colombia. So that is an amazing job that keeps me very busy, actually. And a part of that, I am also doing a PhD and working in my PhD. Hello, Kamal. I'm working in my PhD at the University of East London, that is also based in Newham. So I'm very, very local. I work, I live, and I study in Newham. And my PhD is about also LGBTQ refugees, and doing a PhD in comparing the two communities, LGBTQ and non-LGBTQ refugees, because I work with both of them. So that is my academic background, and I joined the first program last year, actually, and it was an amazing experience, I have to say. All topics were relevant. I cannot, when I was reading about the presentation today, I was thinking what was the most relevant. And I would say every single session was different, and every single session was relevant because it showed me the diversity, even in the election system in the UK, actually, not only in London. And this is so many things that I didn't know. And I try to be quite informed about the election and about politics and about all this kind of thing. But because I think we have to be informed. We need to know what is impacting us, and we need to make sure that we can challenge every single thing that is happening there. So even though if I try to be very informed about that one, I realized in the program that actually I knew very little, because every single class, every single session, it was a learning experience. And it was really well done, because also you have so much documents, and you have all the videos, and you have so many things that are actually helping you. And also about the speakers. I even love the fact that it was so many people also from parties that actually I don't feel connecting with, like Tories or something like that. But I was thinking, if we want to make an impact in the politics in this country, we need to talk with everyone, not just with people that think like us. We need to talk with everyone, with people that think differently, and actually expose ourselves to make sure that they are going to know who we are. And that is the most important. So I was very glad to see that it was not only people from the Labour or from the Green parties, but it was people also from different independents, Tories, that they were talking with us. And I think, as I say, and I probably will say constantly, is that we need to talk with people that think different like us, because we need to learn how to discuss, how to open dialogues, how to open conversation, and actually how to negotiate, because this is politics, it's about negotiation. Not about our values, negotiation about how we can live together in the same place. So I think that is very important for me, and this is one thing that I really learned during the course. And also the fact that I make a really good connection, people that are still supporting me. For example, Rossi, we have a really nice meeting with Lara also, because I really want to run for the 2026 local elections. I already joined the Green Party. Yes, Kamal, yes, I'm with you. It was a really long thought, and I will advise also to do that one. Don't say just that you are going to do for this party or for this one or for this one, because I think you learn a lot during the program. And actually during the program, because when I start, I remember I say, oh, I'm going to do like independent, because I don't believe in the political parties and blah, blah, blah. But I also learned that to be independent is really good, but it could be really hard journey also. It's not impossible, but it could be really long, painful journey. So when I was reading, and I was reading everything about labor, not going to talk a lot about labor now. It could be quite controversial. So anyway, I decided to run by the Green, and I joined them with the support of Rossi and Lara. Also, I'm going to meet one of the councillors here, the local, and I think there is a lot of potential and future for Green Party in Newham, in East London anyway. So what can I say? I really welcome you. I'm pretty sure you all are going to join this journey. You have amazing people supporting you, and actually myself, if I can help with something, if you need a coffee or just talk about something about the program, I am also here. Sometimes I miss the links, like today. but I try to do my best to make sure I can also supporting you, because I receive a lot of support, and I really believe we immigrants and we people that come from different experiences, we have a lot of to give to this country, because I am also grateful for with London, with England. So I really want to do that one because I want to improve the place that I live in. This is my house anyway, so I want to keep my house in peace and diverse. I don't know, the best I can do to keep London like it is already. So thank
Amazing.
you. I don't know if I do my 15 minutes, but
That was
happy
perfect.
to
Thank
answer
you.
any question too.
Yes, if anyone has any questions, please put your hand up, or if you want to put them in the Q&A box as well.
Can see some
Casey
familiar
is asking
faces.
if it is possible to have your contact email, if that's okay for you.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, please. If you can share my email, I'm very happy. And yes, we can have a chat, or I don't know, coffee. I love coffee, so.
Amazing. If anyone has any other questions as well for Sunny regarding the program.
Yes,
or
Joel.
any
I was
more.
with Joel in Budapest with the Olive program. Olive program is a program from University of East London, but now it's with Leeds University, but it's about helping refugees to access higher education. So I was involved with that one. Hi, Joel. And there is also a poet here, Leandra. Nice, cool.
Tony, could you maybe say a little bit of, like, after the program finished, what was your next step in your political journey after the program finished?
I think I'm going to definitely run for Green here in Newham for the 2026. So I think we are going to start like the campaign, or have some kind of visibility this year, 2025. I think is key. I live in the area, and I have been very active in the area, but I think I mentioned that one during the program, that I have been very active in Newham, but more like a community builder. So probably people don't know my political face, you know. So I think it's important to shape a little bit that one and make sure people are going to take me serious. I am an artist, but I am also a person that care about my area and about my community. So I think that is going to be my focus: campaigning, canvassing, and knocking doors, all this kind of thing, and have presence also in online. I quite struggle with the online, but anyway, I will be there. Yes, and I think that is my next step. Yeah. Yes, Soneskin on Twitter. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, thanks so much for speaking, Sony. Just for time, we are going to move on to Kamal and hear from him. And after that, we will be speaking about the program and everything that it includes. So Kamal is also a previous participant of the MPower program, and he also got elected in Colchester's Castle Ward for the Green Party in May 2024. So yeah, congrats, and take it away.
Right. Hi. Hello, everyone. I'm so happy to see all the names in the chat list, and also see Sonia. I guess I missed Michael, but yeah, I'm so very happy to be here and see you all. Well, I received, I guess, two questions prior to tonight's presentation. So I will try to answer those two questions. But if you have any other questions, please do feel free to put it in the chat. So the first question was, how the MPower program helped me. Well, for me, the most important aspect of the program and the training was the fact that overwhelming majority of our trainers and speakers were people with migrant background. And as someone who experienced racism and Islamophobia and will always look a bit different and sound a bit different as well, I greatly value being supported and trained by individuals with relatable experience and outlook and learning. And Yeah, I mean, considering the fact that, public polarization and intolerance and hostility, um, they were all exacerbated by the UK's most ethnically diverse governments and politicians, receiving training from individuals with similar outlook and understanding, and professionals and the NGOs. That had, all the intersectional and common values and ethos, was also quite, inspiring and motivating me basically to restore my own faith towards migrant representation and politicians. Um, so yeah, in addition to trainings that we received on local governance, different types of voting and election systems, the MPower program gave me the opportunity to meet with fellow migrant activists like Sonia, and campaigners and elected councillors who are doing inspiring work all across the UK. So yeah, for me, the emotional support and knowing that I have my wonderful people behind me, and next to me, and doing cheerleading and always willing to offer support and chat was as important as and as helpful as all the trainings that we were getting. Um, so I'm sure that across the UK, local politics and local political parties continue to have a monochrome profile. And for that reason, Empower program and the Migrant Democracy Project was and is still very valuable to me. And moving to the second question, which was about the importance of being a counselor, especially a migrant counselor. Well, as migrants, we have diverse and unique perspectives, experiences, and outlooks that someone who is born and raised in the UK may not be able to know or relate. Therefore, having migrant counselors can help with enriching and improving council's approach and policies and strategies. So in addition to that, I guess it also contributes to the mindset as well. So even as migrants, between ourselves, we may have different experiences from each other. However, one thing which might be common is that we might be politically more reserved. This might be due to the history and the social political structures and experiences back in our countries, or it might be due to the fact that we are in a foreign country, and the pictures we are seeing in local politics, and politics in general, might not feel quite welcoming, and therefore we might not feel too confident to participate. Therefore, having migrant counselors is also very important, and actually needed to break that glass ceiling, and develop both personal as well as community's confidence, and be a role model to other migrant communities, that we can be more than what is imposed to us by the society, or to be honest, even sometimes by our own families and friend groups as well. And yeah, apart from what we got to offer and its benefit to us and our community, I believe the most important thing is that we have the right, and we should have the right, to be listened and heard and represented. So yeah, I believe that's probably the most important and crucial thing as well. We have the right, and we should have the right. So yeah, those are my answers and my thoughts, and how I felt about the program. And yeah, if you have any questions, please do share them with me. But yeah, so very happy to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
Thanks so much, Kamal, for that. I'm not sure if anyone has sent any questions in yet. I guess again we would ask if you could talk a bit more about your experience of advocating yourself for migrant rights after getting elected.
Well, I guess one thing that is yeah, I mean definitely getting elected boosted my confidence, and now whenever I'm attending to a council meeting, um I'm not afraid about talking about racism or discrimination or social issues, the issues that migrant communities are experiencing. So yeah, whenever there is a meeting, I bring up the fact that, you know, almost all of senior officers within our council are white British above a certain age. Um, and you know, I'm meeting with staff as well. Again, most of the staff, they have the same profile, and you know, Colchester especially, it, it was last year we received three King Awards in volunteer sector. So it's almost like the OBE and the knighthood that they give. And we got three, and I believe we were the only place across UK to receive three awards. And all of the three organizations that received that award, they were either migrant led or migrant supporting, and you know, overwhelmingly they had migrant staff. So you know, we are keeping the community spirit alive. We are contributing to the whole, you know, cities and towns and villages we live. So I like I said, I am keep bringing up the talk about, you know, what the migrant community is experiencing and the responsibility that council has to listen. Um, and one of the latest thing that I'm doing now is, luckily on the election night, in addition to myself, another migrant councillor was elected. Um, she got elected from Labour, but nevertheless, I was very happy, and I was cheerleading for her. And now we are working together to have Colchester proper, you know, get the proper status of becoming a city of sanctuary, and endorsing residents' voting rights, and have a migrant champion appointed as well. In fact, we are organizing a big event on 18th of November. Hopefully, I'll see Lara on 18th. So yes, it's you know, I'm trying to continue to talk about it because it is a reality. And I believe since I got elected, the words racism and colonialism and extractivism, it's been mentioned uh, probably more than many years. But yeah, it's the realities. And I mean, this year, for the second time in history, I believe, we raised the Windrush flag. And it was all good, you know, we went and pulled the flag, but it's not just about that. When you think about the experiences of Caribbean community and the Black community and their representation, so I mean, it's good that we are putting flags and etc. But you know, we should be doing more than that, and it's those type of questions that I'm constantly raising and talking about. Is good to do symbolic stuff, but we should be also, you know, challenge the real, you know, inequality that also exists within council. I mean, one last thing, sorry, I hope I'm not taking too long, but this month is a Black History Month, and I've been attending to several events, neither on the council page nor in the local gazette. Not a single event was advertised about Black History Month and the events that are happening. And you know, it's this type of stuff that when you are a migrant person, you can, you know, see and talk. And I mean, recently, like, anyhow, yeah, that's all for me. But yeah, I'm more than happy to have chats and conversations with others. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Kamal. I'm just looking in the Q&A. We don't seem to have much. We do have a comment from Shams, whoever, who said, great speech. And oh, they've just sent in another question. As a politician, how do you deal with policies or subjects that you do not agree with in your party?
That's a great question. That's a great question. You know, as a Cypriot, as a Mediterranean, when we are not happy with something, we are direct. But here, it's not how things work, and I'm learning about that slowly. Um, there was an occasion, and this happened in a planning committee meeting. There was a company which made an application to turn a building into a hotel. And yeah, the company itself was a bit controversial. I went and I was checking their human rights records across the world, and you know there were times that they suppressed workers' right in Americas, and they had some disputes in Sri Lanka because they were building stuff on native land. Um, and you know, there were councillors praising this company that, you know, now Colchester is a city and we should be lucky and blessed and welcome that this big corporation is willing to invest in Colchester because they're, you know, investing in London and Manchester, and now we are, you know, being in that group. And I was like, well, I mean, that's not, if we are allowed to praise a company, then we should be given an opportunity to, you know, look the other side of the coin as well. And yeah, ask questions about, you know, are we aware of these things? What are we putting in place to make sure that we don't have similar scandals or it doesn't bring shame to the city? But I was silenced because apparently morals and ethics is not a matter for planning. And that was, as someone who studied law and human rights, and the fact that, you know, University of Essex, which is based in Colchester, is one of the very first human rights centers in the world. The fact that I was not able to mention human rights in a planning committee in a city that hosts University of Essex was quite challenging, and I was feeling like we have a coffee machine and we are mindful to have it rainforest friendly, but when we enter the room, we are asked to leave these type of stuff outside, and it didn't make any sense to me. And this was actually something that I mentioned to, I believe, Lara, or yeah, I believe I might have mentioned to Lara. You know, this might be another thing that we can maybe, you know, make some noise and challenge, because human rights applies to everything. And even the Human Rights Act mentioned that, but somehow in a city that hosts University of Essex, one of the very first human rights centers in the world, I was not allowed to mention human rights. So yeah.
Okay, thanks so much, Kamal. And does anyone else have any more questions? I don't see any. So yeah, thank you both so much for speaking today, and we will now go on to the next and most important part of, we have one last question from Leandra. Sorry, it's just popped up now. They've asked what you can say about the recent riots against asylum seekers targeting hotels with asylum seekers, yeah, in Colchester.
Right. Yes. Well, I try to attend as many peace vigils as possible that's taking place in Colchester, and apparently it's one of the cities in the world that has the longest, you know, vigils calling for a ceasefire in Palestine and Israel. And yeah, it's Yeah, it's been interesting because I myself work in a charity that supports refugees, and with the vigils that I've been attending, and the community that I regularly visit and chat, I saw the racism that was happening before and happening during that time. But then there were counselors uh who were, still whenever there is an event and it's an event organized by a migrant community, and they say, oh, Colchester is very lucky because nothing happened in Colchester. Or, there were counselors who were saying racism isn't an issue in Colchester. And I was furious about that because, that shows that actually they are not out there engaging and talking with the community, because racism and hostility happens. In fact, the last full council meeting that happened was last week, and my brother, who's also quite who is also quite an activist person, attended to the meeting, and he was saying, did you know that when those riots were happening, there were shops and businesses run by Caribbean and Black community, that they didn't feel safe, so they were closing, or they were forced to, they were anxious when it was a white person entering to their business. And similarly, there were other charities supporting refugees and asylum seekers that they didn't feel safe, and they closed their charities for several weeks, not being able to offer support to asylum seekers and refugees. So, um, yeah, I mean, I'm realizing that there are counselors who are out of touch and ignorant, and to be honest with you, the thing that bothers me most is that there are these counselors who are saying nothing is happening and we are all perfect and great. Um, and then they have the face to attend, events organized by migrant communities, and come and make beautiful speeches about how everything is perfect and nothing is tolerated. So, um. Yeah, I mean, that's another sign, that's another motivation that we need migrant counselors, and migrant activists and campaigners, because yeah, it would be more challenging. I won't say impossible, but it would be very, very challenging to, you know, non-migrant people being aware of these matters and openly talk about them.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Kamal. I think that leads us perfectly on to the final and most important part of the session, where we will be discussing the next cohort of the MPower program. So I will be getting Lara to share that. If we can start off on the Why Do We Advocate for Migrant Voices in Power page.
And Kamal, Sony, if you want to stay around, please do, but otherwise feel free to have your evening.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much,
you.
guys.
That's
Take
really
care.
nice to see you all. And really sorry to be a little bit late, but thank
good.
you.
Thanks so much. Take care. Cool. So why do we advocate for more migrant voices in power? We do this because we believe that everyone should be represented in democracy, that migrants should have the right to vote and stand in elections, and that migrants can help shape fair policies for themselves and their communities. Winning power for and with migrants can radically transform our society and create a more just world for all. The UK is our home. We want and can have political power to shape a future that works for, not against, migrants. And we believe that our power truly comes from our lived experiences, community connections, and core values. These are the values that we kind of spoke about previously. We also believe our lived experience, solidarity, and intersectionality generates transformative politics where the needs and interests of those most vulnerable are met and championed. So to summarize, we want to get migrants elected so that our local and national government reflects the diversity of communities represented. And most importantly, increased direct representation will ensure migrants' needs and interests are met in the democratic system, which in turn will positively transform our political system. So on the next slide, I just have some statistics about representation in local councils. Previous research conducted by MDP revealed a significant representation gap in elected positions. Eligible migrant residents are significantly less likely to register than British citizens. Millions of residents have no right to vote at all. And meanwhile, hostile environment immigration policies continue to deny migrants across the UK safety and dignity. There is little to no information surrounding migrant representation in politics. To this date, there has only been one study into migrant councillors, and this is the London Councillor Survey, which MDP produced in partnership with the GLA and LSE earlier this year. Lara is going to send in a link about that into the chat just now. This survey found that in London, only 16% of local councillors are first-generation migrants. This is a stark contrast to the overall proportion of 40% of London residents being born abroad, and we want to bridge that gap. We would also love to see reports like this taking place all over the country, providing important information about representation in politics. And yeah, so what is the MPower Political Leadership Programme? This programme aims to equip first-generation migrants within the UK with the knowledge and skills to stand in local council elections, either as political party members or as independents. This programme focuses on developing practical and transferable skills that migrants can use when standing for election. This includes both soft and hard skills, such as learning how to canvass, public speaking, community engagement, and campaign strategies, to name just a few. We hope to create migrant power where migrants within an area can work together to create a strong sense of community, where they can rely on each other for anything from canvassing to community care if things ever feel difficult. And we truly believe that community care and mutual aid are some of the most important things to keep communities and local areas connected and thriving. And I think we can really see this after what happened this summer. Yeah, going on to our ideal MPower candidates. So this is who we're looking for to apply for this program. We're looking for people who are champions of their local community. This means people who are often helping in their local area, who are known by many for the work that they do. This could look like organizing community events, support groups in churches or in community centres, or even running campaigns. This ideal candidate should be someone who wants to, of course, represent their local area, but also who wants to continue to advocate for migrants' rights and marginalised voices. There will be some questions that relate to this work in the application form as well. And why do we look for this? We look for this because we want future migrant leaders to help transform the system for the better, speaking up for injustice while helping their local area with important issues. We want people who are super passionate, who we can continue to help after the programme, and hopefully after they get elected, to continue championing migrants' rights. On to the next slide. Here are some pictures from our first cohort of MPower candidates. On the left-hand side, you can see Kamal, who just spoke, and this was on one of his polling days. In the middle is Gabriel Duduta, and it's on one of his polling days as well. He went on to get elected for the Liberal Democrats in May 2024 as well. And finally, on the right-hand side is a picture from our final celebration event, where you can actually see Sony on the bottom left too. The last programme took place from January to April of this year, 2024. This was run by our previous training facilitator, Teo, who did an amazing job providing information and support to our 9 candidates. That's Teo at the top right. And yeah, Teo did amazing work providing information and supporting our 9 candidates. These candidates came from a range of places, including Nigeria, Romania, Poland, Malawi, Cyprus, Brazil, and Colombia. The first cohort took place online, except for a graduation event, which took place in London, and it was open to migrants throughout the whole of the UK. So I think it's important to celebrate some of the wins from the last program. These were drawn from our feedback survey, which we created a report with. So Lara will also drop that into the chat just now. All 9 participants said that they increased their knowledge and confidence in the UK political system. All participants created real change in the events they organised within their communities. And 2 of our participants got elected in May 2024. This was Kamal became the first Cypriot to get elected in Colchester, and Gabriel became the first Romanian to get elected in Watford. And I think it's great to see those kind of successes, especially out of such a small cohort. The next page, I will just be going, well, not just, I will be going straight into what everyone's been waiting for, and it's the next MPower 2, what we will be including in this program. This next cohort will be very similar to the previous program. Again, this program focuses on developing practical and transferable skills that migrants can use when standing for election. Practical-based sessions accompanied by presentations. We will have expert speakers, including migrant counsellors and public speaking coaches throughout all the sessions. You can see here some of the topics covered, such as the difference in running for a political party versus as an independent, the role of local counsellors and what they actually do, and tactics like community engagement and strategy and campaigning. The programme will also include mentoring opportunities. This will be a mentorship with a current local counsellor where you will get to shadow them in the work that they do. You also have one-to-one meetings with me, the programme coordinator, and stipends are available to all participants. This stipend is allocated for programme participation, but it will also be expected to cover expenses for in-person sessions such as the canvassing and voter registration sessions that we will do in April 2025. And that will lead me on to the actual outline on structuring information of the programme. As I said, the previous programme was open for residents across the UK. This time around, it will be in England alone. This is due to the varying nature of electoral politics, and as we are still a smaller organisation, we feel it is best to focus on creating migrant power in more localised areas. We're keeping it unspecified at the minute just to see how many migrants throughout England want to join this programme and where they're based, and allow this to shape the programme location. Growing our organisation, we will hopefully see this programme available further afield in the future. And as I said, this application process will also give us a rough idea of where there is a want and need for this programme in the future as well. Additionally, because of this focus, we will be able to take a hybrid approach of both in-person and online sessions, and it will also give participants more options to create further community relationships and migrant power. The sessions will take place from January to April 2025. Overall, there will be 10 sessions for training, practical and transferable skills, as well as a final graduation event. This will take place at the start of May 2025. The specific days and timings of these sessions will be confirmed with the participants once they are selected, and will take place on weekday evenings or Saturday mornings. Again, because we know that most people have other commitments like full-time work. The selected participants will also have a say in what structure works best for them in terms of which days of the week works the best. And so finally, I'm just going to look loosely over the application process. This application will be launched just after this session finishes this evening. We may be able to send in a live link. It will be open until Friday the 8th of November. So that's Friday the 8th of November until 12 p.m. noon. When you go on this link, you'll be directed to a briefing document that will discuss in depth all the important information for filling out the application form. So please do look through this before you do the application form. This includes links to eligibility requirements that Martin discussed earlier today. We will be viewing the applications on a rolling basis. So those selected will be invited for an interview starting on the week of the 11th of November. And they will know if they have a place by Monday, the 18th of November. Those who will not be selected will be contacted from the 18th of November as well. We will also have a launch event on the 3rd of December from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. And this will be open to everyone, regardless if they got selected for the program or not. And we will be sending out more information about that at a later date. And finally, I will be taking questions after this, but if you have any more questions while you're doing the application, or if anything springs to mind once we have finished the session this evening, please don't hesitate to email me. My email is rosha@migrantdemos.org.uk. I would just like to emphasize that the spelling of this is Rosha, Roise, and not Rosie or some other variation, just to make sure that I actually get your questions. And yeah, that's everything from me. So if anyone has any questions, please let me know and I'll be able to answer those for you. There we go. How old is the demography stats? Lara, would you like to answer that?
So Shams, there's a few data that's been given out when it comes to the number of people that don't have the right to vote. That's from the census. That's the latest that we could get. So from the 2022 census, and from the data about how many councillors in London are from migrant backgrounds. That's the research that has been started to be produced right now. So actually, the link that I'll put in the chat for how many for the report is to be confirmed, because the report's not live yet, so it's like fresh data.
Amazing. I've just put my email into the chat so everyone can copy and paste that. The application will be live on our website. So on our website, you have the MPower section. And if you click on that, it will have the live thing. Is that live now, Lara? Yes, amazing. So we will actually send this link into the group chat as well. We will be reaching out with people and sharing that live link as well. And like I said, you have until the 8th of November at 12 p.m. to apply. If anyone has any more questions, please let me know.
There were a few questions about the fact that when you're wanting to stand, there are members of a political party that have been there for a long time. One of the full sessions of the program will be focused on that. How do we stand as a member of a political party, or how does one stand as an independent? So we'll talk about that in detail with speakers from the different parties that will walk you through the process, because unfortunately or fortunately, there isn't just one way of becoming a candidate for a political party. Each party has their own requirements, their own processes. So we can't do it justice just to speak right now, but there will be a full session on that during the program.
Brilliant. We have managed to finish 5 minutes earlier if no one has any questions. Lara has just sent in the link there if everyone can see it. And yeah, we really look forward to reading all your applications, sorry. And I'll just leave it a few more minutes to see if anyone can think of any more questions. I will read out the answers of our polls as well. So we had our first question: if you were to stand, would you rather stand as an independent or for a political party? We had 36% of people reply for an independent and 64% as for a political party. The second question: are you already a member of a political party? We had 29% with yes and 71% with no. So that's quite exciting to see that people will be deciding on their political journey whether they want to stand as an independent or join a political party if they already are not a member. And finally, where are you in your political journey? We have 59% of people beginning their political journey today. And as I said earlier, that's really exciting that you get to start that journey with us here today. 31% of you have thought about running for election for a while, so that's great. And 10% have actually ran for local council before. So there's a great mix there altogether. Saba. So I think it's not an easy answer, but that's something that I will be helping you with if you get selected for the program. We'll be kind of going into what policies align with your viewpoint, as well as the logistics of running in certain areas and what's best suited for you.
And that's the question of choosing is often a balance of values. And as Rosha said, who are the parties that are standing in your area? A quick example is you can't stand for the Scottish National Party if you live in London, right? They're not going to be standing there. So there are some practical questions of which party to choose, as well as the ones that most align with what you believe in, and potentially even your electoral chances in a certain area.
Absolutely. The event on the 3rd of December, that is hopefully going to be an in-person event. We will try and get maybe an online stream if that's possible, and we are yet to decide where that might be, but it may be in London because that is probably easiest for a lot of people to attend if we're coming from different parts of the country. Yeah, I think Shams, I'm not sure if we have time. Shams, can you just briefly discuss what you mean by members without your own choice?
Just as Shams coming along, there was just a question earlier to Kamal about the riots. One thing that we want to make sure is included in the program, and it will be, is about conflict management and about using, making sure that your community is strong and strengthened by your own support for them. Because sometimes what's needed is to get out and fight, but sometimes what we need also is community well-being and taking care of each other. So those 2 points will be talked about, and there will be like practical training on that as well.
Absolutely. Thanks, Lara. Shams, I don't know if you can see that we are running out of time, but if you raise your hand, you will be able to speak. There we go.
If anyone else has any other question? I think the question was mainly about like, oh, there you go.
Yeah, sorry about that. Sorry, I even forgot. I think my hand was raised, so I have to lower it and raise it again. I'm saying this because, for example, quickly, the political party that I am very keen to join is the Green Party. So in my local area, I contacted them, want to join them. Number one, I am not registered to vote because I'm a refugee and I'm not part of the, you may, that's what I was asking the question earlier. I'm not part of the Commonwealth or the country that I came from. So therefore, the council, and I cannot vote, basically, I cannot be on my local electoral register. And the second thing is some political parties demand their members to pay member fees, which I understand. But for many of the people that I represent, my peers, such as sanctuary seekers, they do not afford much on the daily basis, especially to pay membership for political parties. So these are the main 2 things that I said. It's not by our choice, but it's by design of the system that we haven't joined any political parties yet, if that makes sense.
No, that absolutely makes sense, and it's a big shame that you are not able to join the parties that you wish to. Again, that does relate to the work that we do, that we are advocating for voting rights for all, and hopefully one day we do get to achieve that, so we can see more migrant representation as a result.
I'm sorry, Raisa, but to be fair, in the Northeast here, I've been shaking some feathers, and I've been talking to councillors that have pushed, Lib Dem councillors that have pushed to make the EU members vote in UK. And so far, so good, because they have brought that. And the Green Party members, they have even promised me that they will make the right to vote for sanctuary seekers in their manifesto come the next general election. So why can't we try to look, would be my question for everybody here, why can't we look into make most political parties like Labour, the big ones, to make that part of their portfolio for come to the next general election?
We're campaigning on that, and everyone can help with that campaign. There are lots of councillors like Kamal that are about to pass a motion in their local council asking for votes for all. So unfortunately it's not here yet, but we're collectively campaigning for it.
So that's brilliant. Again, thanks everyone so much for joining today. If again you have any more questions, please email me. I have put it in the chat function. Again, that's rosha@migrantdemos.org.uk. Rosha spelled ROISE. And yeah, we really look forward to seeing all your applications. Have a great evening and take care.
Thank you, everyone. We'll follow up with emails so that you don't lose any of the links today. Take care.
Take care.